Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education Counseling Virtual Webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions. Also presenting today, we have two faculty members, Dr. Sean Neward and Dr. Ileana Gonzalez. And we also have two student speakers, Leah Cherner and Dantavious Hicks. Lastly, my colleague Tyrene Maddox from the Office of Admissions will also introduce herself and take it from here.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyrene Maddox. I am one of the admissions coordinators for School of Education. So before we get started, I would just like to cover a few housekeeping items. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. Also, please take this time to make sure your mic is on mute and your video is off. There will also be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So at that time, you would be advised to type your question in the chat box, and myself, along with Sion, will read out your questions and answer appropriately. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. There'll be an introduction of our presenters, along with an overview of featured programs, admissions requirements, financial aid and scholarship, as well as question and answers. So to start, just a few quick facts about Johns Hopkins School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at the Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,465 enrolled students, and that's fall 2019, 30 plus programs offered on campus and online, 121 full-time faculty, 22,000 alumni, and 230 counseling degree enrolled as of 2019. Our first faculty presenter, Dr. Sean Newhart. He is the assistant professor in the counseling department. He has a PhD from the College of William and Mary. He teaches graduate students in the counseling master's degree program with a focus on clinical mental health counseling. He's also a national certified counselor, certified clinical mental health counselor, and a licensed graduate professional counselor in the state of Maryland. Research interests are college counseling, the influence of family systems on mental health, as well as counselor development. Our next presenter, Dr. Ileana Gonzalez. She is the assistant professor in the counseling department, PhD from the University of Maryland. Her research interest includes urban school counselors and social justice related issues in counselor education. She is a member of the American Counseling Association, Association of Counselor Education and Supervision, Chi Sigma Iota International Counseling Honor Society, Counselors for Social Justice, and the Association of Multicultural Counseling Development. She was a former chapter faculty advisor for the Johns Hopkins University Lambda chapter of CSI and named Counselor Education of the Year by Maryland Counseling Association in 2020.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, and I want to welcome everybody in the room. This is obviously a very strange time, and we are so getting used to doing these online sessions. So it's very uncounselor-like for me not to see your faces and be able to interact with you all. But hopefully this will be an opportunity for you all to ask the questions that you need to ask, and more importantly, to get to know us and our program a little bit more. So let me talk about our program and our campus. We have 2 specialty areas in our counseling program, and they are school counseling and clinical mental health counseling. What you see there is our campus at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, and the picture that you see there is our education building where we normally are, but of course these are very abnormal times, and so we miss that building I know I miss that building very much. But during typical times, this is where our classes occur, and this is where we meet and faculty offices are. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the mission statement of our program. I won't read it to you because I know that you all are capable of doing that. However, I just want to highlight some words that I think are the core essence of our counseling program. Our counseling program is really about social justice, and I know that that is a word that gets tossed a lot these days, particularly as we think about the movement in the anti-racism movement. And I want to express just how deeply this is at our core, just beyond lip service, but really we are about social justice in this program, and looking at not only the clients and students that we serve, but the systems in which they exist. And understanding that not everybody comes to the same table with the power and privilege. And so our program is really, those core ideas are really embedded in every aspect, whether it's admissions, coursework, field experiences, supervision. We're really about this notion of social justice. And we do that through the implementation of theoretical, empirical, and practical frameworks that are about client growth and development, introspective awareness, and well-being in a global society, of course, recognizing that Baltimore, Maryland isn't the center of the universe, but that we are all interconnected with one another in a global society. So understanding what that means for the clients and students that we serve is really, as I said earlier, central to our mission. All right, so let's talk about the courses and the course sequence of our clinical mental health and school counseling tracks. So one important thing that I want to say is that our program is 60 credits, and this is what the clinical mental health and school counseling track look like if you were to go on, what we call a full-time basis. So a full-time graduate program, credit-wise, looks like what you see on your computer screens. It's about 4 classes a semester, and it's built out. When you are accepted into the program, one of the first things that we do is that you meet with your advisor. You will be assigned a faculty member that is your advisor, and really build out what's called your program plan. So your program plan is based on the sequence of courses. And a question I get asked all the time is, can we take those courses out of sequence? The answer, of course, is no. A lot of prerequisites there for, the foundational courses like human development and theories and techniques that build upon the other courses. So hopefully, if you're interested in counseling as a career, you're looking at these course titles and you're getting very excited by it. I know that when I was in my master's program, I was looking at all the courses that I got to take, and every course just seemed like such an exciting place to develop my identity as a counselor. And so what you see on your left-hand side is the clinical mental health track, and on the right-hand side is the school counseling track. It's about a 3-year program if you go full-time, and what you see are fall and spring semester courses. You will note that clinical mental health and school counseling, you'll see some similar courses like human development, counseling theory, and counseling techniques. And then you'll see some differences. The clinical mental health counseling students will take Introduction to Clinical Mental Health, and school counseling students take that Foundations of School Counseling course that first semester. So we have what's called core counseling courses, and these are courses that, again, are students, regardless of whether you're school counseling or clinical mental health, because our identity is counselor first, and then we are specialized in whatever our specializations are. Like my specialization is school counseling, and Dr. Newhart's specialization is clinical mental health. But with these core courses, such as human development, theory, techniques, diversity, diagnosis, career, group, you'll start seeing these courses that are very similar. So the beauty of these programs is that all of our students, whether you're clinical mental health or school counseling, we take them together, which is an amazing thing as a professor, not only as a professor, but I think as a student, because you're able to see multiple perspectives in these spaces as we talk about the needs of the clients and the students that we serve. So what you see is that, year 1 and the fall of year 2 is a lot of coursework some foundational developmental coursework, some specialty areas here and there. But starting at year 2, spring semester, we start seeing this practicum and internship courses. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that a little later. Dr. Newhart will talk a little bit about that. But this is what we call your field experiences. So in order to go into the field and serve students in schools, if you're a school counseling student, or serve clients in different clinical mental health capacities, the courses that, the foundational courses that you need to take come before this. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about those field experience courses, but this is what a typical full-time 60 credit program looks like if you're on the school counseling track or the clinical mental health counseling track. If we advance to the next slide, we will see what this looks like on a part-time basis. Thank you. So again, what we see here is that this time, if you go on a part-time basis, and many of our students do, you'll see that your coursework will extend itself by a year. So it'll probably take you about 4 years to finish the program. And what you see is that the program plan, so the sequence of courses that you take, is divided up a little bit more. So instead of taking 4 courses a semester like you would on a full-time load, that would break up, and it would be a 2 course load, so 6 credits instead of 12 credits that you would take, because we have 3 credit courses. So again, you see the breakup, but the process is very similar. The order looks very similar in terms of when you would take your field experience courses, practicum, and internship. A question that we get asked, I should say, all the time is, well, what if, I start in the full-time program and then something happens, family stuff, life stuff, and I want to go to part-time, or the reverse. I start off as part-time and then something happens that I want to go full-time and take more classes a semester. Is that possible? The answer is yes, absolutely. What would happen is that you would meet with your advisor and we would do a redo of your program plan. So just mapping out again which courses you would need to take what semester, because again, we have, courses are prerequisites one to one another. And so again, meeting with your advisor, we meet with pretty much all of our advisees at least once a semester minimum, or we try to organize program plans and make sure that our students are taking the courses in the sequence that they need to take those courses. All right, so I'm going to pass this on to Dr. Newhart, and I'll chime in a little bit about school counseling and what practicum and internship looks like. But Dr. Newhart, take it away in terms of talking about field experiences of our students.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Dr. Gonzalez. So there are basically 2 primary field experiences that you will have in your program at Johns Hopkins. One of them is called the clinical practicum, and really this is your first clinical experience. So it's really a time for you to sort of dip your toes in the water regarding working as a counselor out in the field. This is a 3 credit course, and it requires 100 hours in whatever field experience setting you're in. 40 of those have to be direct. So when we talk about direct hours, think about any hours that you're spending working directly with clients providing services, and then 60 indirect hours. Usually that's paperwork, supervision, everything else, administratively that goes along with, seeing clients or students in the field. Now, a lot of times we'll get questions around, where do I complete my practicum? Do I have to find my practicum site on my own, et cetera, et cetera? So, and this differs between programs. I'll speak specifically to clinical mental health counseling. So luckily, overall, we have a field experience office in which Dr. Justin Lauka and Darlene Conley work and do a really amazing job of keeping connected with sites and also providing students with information about sites, and also, kind of just organizing all of the paperwork and the policies related to sites. So with clinical mental health counseling, you are required to find your own sites, and we will provide you a list of sites that students have worked at previously. I often get the question of, can I seek out my own site? And the answer to that is yes. However, sites have to meet a certain number of qualifications. So you'll have to run that by our field experience office and our clinical director. And again, when we think about what this experience is for, it's really for taking all of that didactic knowledge that you've learned in your theories courses, in your psychopathology, diagnosis, all of those courses that you have before this experience, taking that didactic knowledge and applying it in an experiential setting with actual clients. And along with your practicum experience on site, you'll have a practicum course in which you'll be asked to conceptualize your cases. You'll be engaging in group supervision with other students under a university supervisor. So you'll have sort of that as a foundation to fall back on, while also getting supervision from your actual site. Dr. Gonzalez, did you want to speak to the differences for school counseling and the practicum?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Newhart. Yeah, and it's important to note too. If you all can mute your microphone so we don't get that echo, thank you very much. It's important to note too that, in our clinical mental health, Dr. Newhart, if you want to talk a little bit more about this in a second, but the types of places that our students, I think one of the most incredible things is all the different types of clinical mental health counseling spaces that our students are involved in, whether it's working with military, working in addiction centers. There's just such a vast, depending on what kind of interests students have, it's important to note that we have such a variety of sites for placement. Let me talk a little bit about school counseling for my school counseling folks out there, people that are interested in becoming school counselors. So our field experience placement looks a little bit different because it is more specialized in terms of working in schools in order to get your certification as a school counselor. We'll talk about certification and licensure in just a little bit, but in order to be certified as a school counselor, you need to complete your field experience in a public K through 12 space. I often get asked upfront, I'm a teacher, can I do my practicum and internship at my school? The answer is no. It is an ethical boundary issue in terms of where does your role as a teacher end and your role as a field experience student begin. So we do not allow any student to do their placement at their place of employment, their school. However, the process for doing your field experience for school counseling is that Darlene Connolly, as Dr. Newhart stated, we have an amazing field experience office, and you apply for field experience and list what district in our area you would like to do your placement in. So for people that are local, we have partnerships with Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, Prince George's County, DC Public Schools, Fairfax Schools in Virginia, Anne Arundel County. I'm trying to go north, south, east, and west here. And I'm sure I'm missing some districts in that area as well. But we offer a lot of district placements in a lot of different districts. And it's important to note too that because you're seeking out certification as a school counselor in K through 12 space, one of your field experiences needs to be in a elementary setting, and one of your field experiences needs to be in a secondary setting, so middle or high school. So students decide what they want to do for practicum and what they want to do for internship in terms of whether it's elementary or secondary. Students pick what district they want to be placed in. However, we, as in Johns Hopkins University, our field experience office, do not place the students in schools. It is the district leads of school counselors that typically place our students in the particular school where they are going to do their field experiences. So this is very different from clinical mental health, where you need to seek out your own placement. In school, you pick the district, you pick the level for practicum, and then for internship, it'll be the opposite, secondary, elementary or secondary. And then the school district will place you in a school. So again, for practicum, as Dr. Newhart talks about, it's 100 hours. For internship, it is 600 hours. And this is 6 credits practicing the role of a school counselor in K through 12 public school setting. Now we have the option of, depending on whether you are on a full-time basis or on a part-time basis in our program, for you to complete the 1 semester, your entire internship, 6 credits in 1 semester, or you may split up your internship 2 semesters and do 300 credits in the fall or 300 credits in the spring. So if you complete it in 1 semester, that means you will complete your 600 hours at a school. So typically, you can imagine it's full-time working with a school counselor in a school, doing everything that a school counselor normally would do in 1 semester. So again, for those of you that may be working, obviously a 600-hour semester internship, we strongly suggest that you do not work. Obviously, you can't work during the school day because that's typically when schools occur. So you need to think about your employment accordingly.
Yeah, and thanks, Dr. Gonzalez. Just to sort of follow up on what you were discussing in terms of options for sites through the clinical mental health counseling practicum and internship, really the sky's the limit. I'm thinking about my current internship students. I have 1 student working at an inpatient eating disorders clinic. I have several students working at private group practices. I have a student working in an HIV/AIDS clinic through Hopkins. I have another student working with preschool children and their families through Hopkins Bayview. So, I really, and then a ton of students also working in community agency settings as well. So there are a ton of opportunities, and really, I encourage students to look for places that align with their clinical interests, because there are, one of the greatest things about being in Baltimore is that, being such a kind of a healthcare centered place in the United States, there are also a ton of mental health agencies and settings in and around the city. And you also don't have to complete your internship within the city. You can, we have several students who work in other areas of Maryland. I've had students work in DC, some students work in Northern Virginia as well. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of location too. So with the internship in clinical mental health counseling, again, it's 600 hours. That's very similar to school counseling. And I wanted to just clarify that this is a CAPREP requirement. So there isn't any flexibility on the hours there. 240 of those hours are required to be direct. So that, again, that's seeing clients in person. And usually this rounds out to a little bit over 20 hours a week that is required over the 2 semesters. So keep that in mind. Dr. Gonzalez was already talking about this, but we really have to, in terms of working at a site and being employed at the same time, your work schedule really has to fit the site's schedule because they're sort of doing us a favor in terms of taking on an intern. So that's not to say that I think several of my students have worked part-time to full-time while in their internship, but it can be difficult to do, so just keep that in mind. And with our internship in CMHC, this is required to be completed across 2 semesters. So as the current program plan is set up, you will be completing this in the fall and the spring of your 3rd year of the program. So just talking a little bit about certification and licensure, and again, I'll speak to the clinical mental health side of things, and Dr. Gonzalez can speak to school counseling. So upon completion of our program, you will be eligible to take the National Counselor Examination, the NCE, and we have it set up to where you can actually take the NCE before you finish the program, which is a huge advantage, generally, but especially in Maryland, because in Maryland, for your licensure, you have to take the NCE, and many times that NCE cannot be taken until after you've graduated from a program. So being able to take the NCE while still in the program just sort of gives you a leg up in terms of timing and getting a job, pretty much as soon as you graduate. as soon as you take and successfully pass the NCE, you'll be able to obtain the National Counselor Certification credential, which really means that you are certified by a national board of certified counselors, NBCC, to practice. This doesn't necessarily mean that you are eligible to work in Maryland because each state requires their own requirements regarding licensure. Um, but that being said, every all of the courses that we offer in Maryland, or sorry, through Hopkins, are aligned with the requirements for Maryland licensure. So theoretically, when you complete the program, as long as you fully complete the program and you complete the NCE, you'll be eligible for licensure in Maryland. One thing that I would suggest you do if you're looking to be licensed outside of Maryland is to check with the Board of Counseling for whatever state that is to see what they require, and then to sort of cross-reference that with what we offer here at Hopkins. I know some states require very specific courses. Florida requires a human sexuality course. Tennessee has some ethics courses that aren't necessarily offered in every program. So just make sure that you double check that if you're looking to work outside of Maryland. But yeah, that's pretty much everything on the clinical mental health side of things. Dr. Gonzalez, did you want to speak to school counseling?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, if we can back that up. Yeah, thanks. So it's important to note these words, certification and licensure. These are very important words. And so for school counseling folks, the name of the game is not licensure, it is certification in order to practice as a school counselor. Much like teachers need their teacher certification, it's the same thing, being part of the educational system, it's certification. And much like clinical mental health, every state has their own requirements for what it takes to be a certified school counselor in their state. Now, if you go to Virginia, for my folks that want to practice in Virginia, Virginia changes that word, funny enough, certification to licensure, but is the only state in the country that does it. But really, it's certification. Now, if you are interested in being certified as a school counselor, you need to visit schoolcounselor.org. This website is important because it is the American School Counseling Association website. And it lists what is the requirement for each state in order to practice as a school counselor. In other words, in order to get certified as a school counselor. So you are eligible for certification as a school counselor in Maryland when you graduate from our program. You have to apply, much like you would apply for a teacher certification. Other states may have other requirements like an additional exam, like a praxis exam. I know in my home state of Florida, there is an additional child abuse course that you need to take online. But for the majority of the courses that are needed, this program will give it to you. The other important word I want to introduce into the conversation is reciprocity. So this means that our degree is a master's degree no matter where you go in the United States. So that means that it's a master's degree everywhere. So whether you practice in California, Alaska, Florida, it is still a master's degree in counseling and it will serve you as such. The other thing I want to mention here, and I know that this is a lot to unpack, so please feel free to ask as many questions as you want, is that in order to get certification as a school counselor, you have to go through our school counseling courses. In addition to that, because it is a 60 credit program, you are also eligible to you're also eligible to have all the courses that you need for clinical mental health as well. And this is important because many school counselors also want to get their clinical mental health license. And so the way our program is built, it has the courses that you need in order to get licensed as well. Now that does not work in reverse. In other words, folks that do the clinical mental health program and may want to be a school counselor, the courses that are on your program plan do not give you the courses that you need for certification. I often get students that start the program and say, I don't know what I want to do. I like clinical mental health, but I also like school. I can't decide. The good thing is again, the majority of our foundational courses are core courses. So you are taking them with clinical mental health and school counseling students. So you have a little bit of time to decide. But my advice to anyone that's really interested and wants to open the door for them in terms of the opportunity to practice as a school counselor and also get that clinical mental health licensure is to do the school counseling track, because you can do the school counseling track and still be eligible for licensure based on courses, but you can't do that in reverse. You can't go through the clinical mental health and sit for certification. You won't have those courses. All right. Now we can advance to the next slide. Thank you for that. Yeah, so graduate certificate programs. So we also have graduate certificate programs, and some of you in the room may be of interest if you've already earned your master's degree in counseling. And so we also offer courses for other programs that may potentially, you still need some extra courses, or maybe, you graduated from a 48 credit school counseling program. And in order to sit for licensure in a state, you need extra courses. So we do offer that. These are called graduate certificate programs. And for those folks in the room that are interested in that, we have that and do offer those courses for those students. All right. So where are our graduates employed? So I can speak to the school counseling piece, and then Dr. Newhart, if you want to speak to clinical mental health counselors. I would say first and foremost, all of our graduates, certainly we're seeing an interesting trajectory that many of our students are actually going into a lot of PhD programs, whether it's clinical psychology programs, counselor education programs. It's real interesting what we're seeing so far. So we're seeing a good number of our students go into and continue their work into the doctoral programs. But on the school counseling side, a lot of our graduates obviously are employed in K through 12 spaces, also in private and charter school sector, college career centers, so working in on university and college campuses doing advising and counseling, private organizations, so non-for-profit organizations like NGOs. Again, as Dr. Newhart stated, we're in an amazing area, the DMV area. The Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area is incredible because we have so much of the government sector here. There's so much non-for-profit organizations, so a lot of our graduates go on into those. And community organizations, so organizations that are serving students, serving children, whether it's college advising, whether it's tutoring and counseling programs, after school programs. So the majority of our students go in that direction. Dr. Newhart, I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about where our clinical mental health students also end up employed.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, see, the clinical mental health counseling degree I found really opens up opportunities to work in areas that you're interested in. So, I've had students who go on to work in more hospital settings, inpatient settings. A lot of students go into group practices. So, those being sort of private practices, but with a group of counselors. But really, again, I think the sky's the limit in terms of where students end up working. And I think a lot of times, yeah, they just choose they either choose based on their interests that they cultivated while in the program, or, they sort of choose maybe something more generalized, like, I want to work in a community agency so I can see tons of different kinds of clients coming from different backgrounds, or kind of taking that specialization route. I want to work in very specifically in a hospital setting, or I want to work at this practice that mostly works with trauma, et cetera, et cetera.
I also forgot to mention something really important, which is, of course, our amazing international students that we have that go back to their home countries and do such amazing things. So, I want to make sure that our audience is really aware that this is not limited to the United States. We have so many amazing students, alumni that keep in touch with us and tell us, all the amazing impact that they're having, particularly in countries where, getting counseling, mental health services may be taboo, or the profession, may not be to the level of where it is in terms of permeating the culture like it is in the United States. So I definitely neglected to say that, and it's so important that our international student base be recognized as well.
Yeah, Dr. Gonzalez, it's funny that you mentioned that because I just got an email maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago from a student who works for a crisis center, and they were featured on the news because one of their clients what ended up being admitted to a an inpatient um, program after they sort of worked with a client to with around their suicidality and everything. So it was really cool to hear from that student as well.
Our students are doing amazing things all over the world.
Yeah. So yeah, I will speak a little bit to student research and doctoral study opportunities. So I'll mostly focus on research opportunities. So most recently, and Leah will be able to speak to this in just a bit, the Chi Sigma Iota, which is our professional counseling organization, has worked to build a student research committee, which I am now the chair. I don't know if chair is the right word, but I'm the faculty advisor for. That's what it is. And that is again brand new, but I think is going to be a really fantastic opportunity for students to get involved in research moving forward. The charge for that committee is really finding opportunities for students to engage in research, whether that be within the School of Education or within the Hopkins community at large. We do have many students that seek out research opportunities, whether it be because they're just interested and they want to have that experience, or because they want to prepare themselves for future study. So I think that's a really valuable asset that we have in the program and will have moving forward. And with research, I just want to emphasize too that research is, there are opportunities to do research while you're here. However, you won't be required to do research. So it really, if you want to do research while you're here, it does require some independent efforts and motivation to really seek out those opportunities. And the research committee, I think, will really help students with that. And yeah, with doctoral study, we don't necessarily have a doctoral program in counselor education at Johns Hopkins, but we do have many students that apply to doctoral programs who come out of our master's program. I know Leah, who will speak in a little bit, is currently applying to doctoral programs, and Dr. Gonzalez and I have worked with several students who have applied to and been accepted to doctoral programs, whether they be in counselor education, psychology, other fields. So I see that. I think especially at Hopkins, I agree with Dr. Gonzalez. We have a lot of students applying for those opportunities sort of right out of our master's program. So it's really exciting to see that. Dr. Gonzalez, did you want to speak to Chi Sigma Iota?
Sure, I would love to, and I know our students will speak to it as well when they speak. So, as mentioned earlier, as you can tell, I think a big backbone of our program is Chi Sigma Iota, which is our student-led International Counseling Honor Society. And they have mobilized, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years, to really be the focus and advocacy and the voice for students and their needs. And so we've built such an amazing relationship over the past couple of years with the students on the board and the students that serve in several committees. So there's as Dr. Newhart said, there's a research committee. I am the advisor. Dr. Newhart, the title escapes me as well, but I am the advisor for the field experience committee. So again, giving opportunity to students to have a multitude of different kinds of field experiences for their practicum and internship. There's an international student committee. We are working on a social justice committee. So again, and this is all student driven. So it's such an amazing opportunity to, again, build those bridges and really be an advocate for student voices. So it's truly a privilege to be working with our students.
I would like to introduce you to Dantavious Hicks.
Hey everyone. First, I just want to say it's good to see so many people interested in the program. My name is Dantavious Hicks. I am a second year student in my last semester. I graduate in December and next month. I am in the school counseling program. And I just want to kind of like highlight some of the experiences that I've had in the program that have really been beneficial to my professional growth and personal growth in a lot of instances. Um, I just want to start by why I chose the counseling program at Hopkins. My professional identity is grounded in social justice, and the emphasis on social justice in this program really stood out to me. It's at the foundation of any work that I've done. And my previous experience as an educator, and I'm an inspiring counselor educator, interested in PhD program in the future as well. Um, and so that stood out to me in this program, and it really holds true in the work that we do in our courses and in field experience as well. Um, um, Sorry. Okay. Um, and the learning environment as well. You are working with professionals in the field who are really dedicated to their research interests and to the pushing the profession forward. For instance, I'll just say, like, for example, when I got into techniques, I just was so floored. Techniques in therapy, in my first semester, at the dedication and the research that my professors, Dr. Actually, my first semester, I had Dr. Gonzalez, I had Dr. Norma Devons, Dr. Uh, Travis Sterling, and I think I had 3 courses. But just the enthusiasm in the course content and the profession overall. I think Hopkins does a really good job at selecting professors to teach certain courses, um, given the professor's experiences and research interests. Um, so that's just been like one of the highlights for me. And then as a student, I didn't write this here, but I've had the opportunity to engage in several research teams. One study that is in the process of being reviewed for publication. I did a presentation this year, excuse me, virtually. Well, it was supposed to be in Nevada or Seattle, excuse me, for the American School Counseling Association, on school counselors' racial identity development and their ability to broach. And broaching is just a technique to discuss race and ethnicity and culture with students or clients. Um, I was awarded the Student Excellence Award, which was a humble award to receive, and I'm appreciative of that. Um, but for me, what is most exciting about my experience as a student is field experience. I got the chance in my practicum and internship to work at Henderson Hopkins, a K-8 school in Baltimore City. And it's really a school that the Johns Hopkins School of Education works in strong collaboration with. And so they know what what the expectations that are set high for students. And so you get the experience to really grow in those areas that the program focus on. One last thing, I had the experience over this past summer of being a TA for a course, and that was affirming as well, in terms of helping me solidify my future career interests as a counselor educator. And then lastly, I'll leave you just with this piece of advice for prospective students. Um, Before you even get into the program now and beyond, think about what your focus area is. And if you don't know, that's fine. That's what the program is for. You'll learn as you grow as a professional and as a counselor in training. But really think about what might be your interest area and read. When you leave this program, you should have and know your area of expertise and what setting you want to work in. And that might change, and that's okay. But being invested and focused in one area is really going to help you grow professionally and develop a counselor identity. that will serve you in whatever setting or space you decide to enter beyond the master's program. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for joining. If you have questions, I'll put my email in the chat. I know the last group of prospective students, a couple students actually reached out to me and had some very solid questions, some important questions. So I'm making myself available to that. And best of luck to you all in future endeavors.
Thank you, Dantavious. It looks like Leah is back. So going back, I would like to introduce you to Leah Cherner again.
Thank you. Hopefully you guys can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you really well.
Okay, great. So good afternoon. My name is Leah Cherner, and I'm currently in my second year of the Clinical Mental Health Counseling program. Going into the application process, I knew my future graduate program needed to meet specific criteria. Johns Hopkins School of Education exceeded all of these standards. It was important to me to know I would be receiving an unparalleled education and training, where there would be a focus on enhancing my ethical responsibility, cultural responsiveness, competence, clinical skills, and ability to utilize evidence-based research in my clinical practice. After my interview, I felt inspired by both the faculty and students. Since coming to Johns Hopkins School of Education, I have continued to be motivated by those around me. I believe the motivating environment of the faculty is one of the School of Education's biggest strengths. The faculty educate from a place of desire to serve the future of the counseling field. Their love for the profession is exuberant and contagious, and demonstrates to me the selfless nature of counseling. One of the greatest strengths of the School of Education is being surrounded by driven and collaborative faculty and peers. I have been able to engage in discussions with faculty and students across multiple disciplines in the School of Education. One of the opportunities I was looking forward to in graduate school is research. Although research experience is not required, as Dr. Newhart mentioned a few minutes ago, the abundance of research opportunities available to students is incredible. I have been able to join a research lab in the Mood Disorders Clinic in the School of Medicine. Since our students also have the opportunity to engage in independent research studies if they have the desire to conduct their own research projects during the program. The School of Education and the Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program both emphasize multiculturalism, diversity, and individual differences. This is without a doubt one of the most influential aspects of the program. The program believes that every interaction is a cross-cultural interaction, and they are. This philosophy propels the program to infuse multiculturalism into every course and encourages discussions of diversity at every opportunity in order for students to enhance our worldviews and perspectives. The emphasis on multiculturalism has improved my understanding of my clients, allowed me to have intimate conversations, and increase my therapeutic relationships with my clients. Something that I enjoy about the program is that I'm able to work closely with numerous faculty members. I have developed close relationships with all my professors, and throughout the program, I have been able to seek advice, guidance, and perspective from them. The supportive environment the faculty create has provided me with the confidence to be authentic in my pursuits and challenged me to continually grow in order to best serve myself. My professors always encouraged me, to my peers, and myself to advocate for others around us and for ourselves. It is in part because of my professors that I ran for Johns Hopkins Chapter Board of CSI, which is the International Honor Society for Counseling. Through this experience, I've been able to be a liaison between faculty and students, work closely with faculty to provide feedback, and create committees to enhance student involvement. I am the co-founder of the research committee, as Dr. Gonzalez said a few minutes ago, which we started this fall. Other committees founded this year by my peers are the International Committee and the Field Experience Committee. We're also working on a social justice committee, as mentioned earlier as well. The program provides us with the freedom to create projects we are passionate about. My lifelong experiences have impacted my biases, which shape my worldview. The program recognizes that we all have our own unique experiences that shape our worldviews, perspectives, and biases. The faculty foster a curriculum that challenges students to be introspective and reflective in our experiences and backgrounds to gain a deeper insight into who we are and how that impacts us as we enter into the therapeutic environment. The program, curriculum, and assignments continue to increase my self-awareness and have led me to enhance my counseling skills. My peers have significantly enhanced my experience in the program. The diverse student population is one of the program's greatest assets. My overall development as a student and clinician has been shaped by intellectual conversations with my peers who hold unique worldviews, which has led to my development of the necessary skills to be a holistic counselor who is sensitive to diverse clients. These discussions built the foundation for a strong community of driven and supportive colleagues open to honest and intimate dialogues. My colleagues are more than just my colleagues. They are my friends, my confidants, and my support system. We watch each other grow, we cheer each other on, and we speak daily. The relationships we have developed withstand the impacts of social distance and COVID. Although building relationships during COVID may be difficult, my friendships have remained as fruitful as they would have been if we were still in person. The advice that I have for all of you is to ask your questions, reach out to the Office of Admissions and ask to be connected with current students, and be on the lookout for faculty who are passionate about the material they are teaching. This is something that you can't quantify, but it's something that has made all the difference in my education and experience here at the counseling program at Hopkins. Thank you for allowing me to share my experiences with you guys today.
Thank you, Leah and Dantavious. All right, so moving on to the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. The application fee is $80. Next, we need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. Next, 500-word essay must be uploaded. Please visit our website on the admissions webpage to learn more about the essay portion of the application. You will also need a current resume or CV, 2 letters of recommendation. If you're unable to have 1 academic letter of recommendation, we will accept 2 professional letters of recommendation. And please note that the GRE is not required for this program. And lastly, if selected, a group virtual interview is also required. And please note that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we are currently experiencing heavy delays in mail received from the U.S. Postal Service and some private mail service carriers. Please order your transcripts as early as possible, especially if your school only mails paper transcripts. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you're an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score, and if your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. The tuition for the 2020-2021 academic school year is $882 per credit for online courses and $833 per credit for face-to-face classes. This excludes textbook, course materials, graduation fee, and registration fee. And please note, additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our website for the most up-to-date information about tuition and fees. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. We do offer a very limited number of partial need-based scholarships for fall and spring semesters. Application deadline for the scholarship is April 1st. Please visit our website if you have any questions relating to financial aid. And here are some contact information. If you have any questions relating to your application, please contact admissions coordinator Tyree Maddox, and any program related questions, please contact Ms. Kiana Napper, academic program coordinator for the counseling program. Thank you for attending today's virtual webinar. At this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions.
So it looks like we have quite a few questions in the chat box. I'll go ahead and read them off, starting with, has the program reinstated its KCREP accreditation yet?
Great, thank you for asking that question. That's a question we get a lot. Yes, so we have submitted our self-study, and as a matter of fact, this morning, Dr. Newhart and I were in a KCREP meeting in preparation for our site visit. The process for KCREP accreditation, reaccreditation, is that we submit our self-study, and then KCREP tells us when there will be a site visit. Obviously, because of the COVID pandemic, that site visit will happen virtually. And also because of the pandemic, there is a little bit of a delay and the KCREP is backed up in terms of site visits. So we have a site visit scheduled for the spring. And we are preparing as a faculty for that site visit, not only just as a faculty, I would say as an entire program, students, faculty, et cetera. And once they visit, they will meet and all signs point to very good that we should go through that reaccreditation process. So we should find out in the hopefully early part of the summer 2021.
The next question I have is, what is the percentage of master's level clinical mental health students that participate in research?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, I have no idea in terms of a percentage, just because that's not something that we keep track of. I know that currently, I believe that there are around between 20 and 30 students who are on the research committee for CSI. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of them are engaged in research or that there aren't students outside of the research committee who are currently engaging in research. But yeah, I don't have a good read on percentage.
Okay, next question. How many students enter the program with psychology backgrounds? For those of us applying without an undergrad in psych or research experience, what other experiences do admissions look for? In general, what qualities makes for a successful student at Johns Hopkins?
Ooh, that's a lot of questions in one, but let me answer that. So the background in psychology or education, you know, is it helpful? Sure, but it's not necessarily what we are looking for. As a matter of fact, we really welcome the diversity of thought. We've had students come from undergraduate backgrounds in marketing, in psychology, of course, in the arts, in education, and also in engineering. We've had engineers come through. So, and that is actually really what I appreciate as a faculty member, to have such diversity of thought in the room, to be able to really tackle the kinds of, things that we discuss and be able to look at things from multiple worldviews. So it does not put you at a disadvantage. And the last question, in regards to what are we looking for? We're really looking for people that, number one, are really passionate about this profession and passionate about helping people, and helping people, seek their goals of wellness, whatever that means for them. We're also really interested in people that are passionate about issues relating to social justice, and how racism permeates every aspect of our society, and looking at that for the effects that it can have on the clients and the students we serve. We're looking for advocates out there, people that are passionate about advocacy. And really, I would say what makes an amazing student, and Dantavious and Leah, please, chime in. But I think what makes a great student in our program is one that is open. Counseling is putting a mirror to yourself and who you are. Oftentimes people go into this profession because they want to help people outside, right? It's all about, let me get outside of myself and Superman, right? I'm going to help everybody. And if that's your belief system, you are in for a very rude awakening. This program is a lot about looking at who you are. What are your values? What are your beliefs? What are your blind spots? What are your biases? And who are you, and how did you get to this point in time in terms of who you are, and how do you use yourself as an instrument in the counseling process? So that's really what I think makes an amazing student. I don't know if any of my colleagues, Dr. Newhart, Dantavious, or Leah, if you all want to chime in.
That was beautiful. I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, I just want to say, as a student, from my perspective, I appreciate you, Dr. Gonzalez, saying the importance of self-reflection. And it's not only a personal and a moral obligation I think counselors should have, but it's really an ethical responsibility as well. If you look at our multicultural and social justice competencies, it's self-awareness and that reflection and understanding how your identity and identities inform like the relationship that you have with the client or with the student is important. So it's not just a personal growth component to that, but really a professional obligation that you have in order to be an effective counselor. I think I would just reiterate that.
Great. The next question we have from Lindsay is, what is the rate of admission? Does the program accept credits from other graduate masters in counseling programs? And lastly, will a recording of the webinar be available? Lindsay, the rate of admission is approximately 46%. And if approved by the counseling department, we do accept up to 6 transfer credits. And yes, the webinar is being recorded and will be sent to everyone within 1 week after this event.
All right, next question for school counseling. 1, is the 12-month program still available? 2, I am 1 semester away from finishing up my clinical master's program and 3 courses away from sitting for my LCPC. Would I be able to take courses in order to receive a certification for school counseling?
Oh, I guess that question is directed at me. These are all great questions. I don't know what is meant by the 12-month program. I think you might be referring to what we used to have, which is an intense, what was called the School Counseling Fellows Program. And that has ceased to exist because of the K-CREP requirements to move to 60 credits and policy in our program that we are not offering summer courses anymore. So that program has sort of ceased to exist. So that probably is where that question is going for. I'm 1 semester away from finishing my clinical master's and 3 courses away for sitting for LCPC. Would I be able to take courses in order to receive certification for school counseling? That's probably a question for admissions in terms of, I know that we have students sometimes that sit in our courses as non-degree seeking students. Probably it says Mr. Thompson. So Mr. Thompson, what I would suggest you do is figure out what state you want to get certified in as a school counselor and figure out what are those courses that are needed. And perhaps maybe we can talk offline, or I can also connect you with Kiana Napper, our our support that can answer these questions in terms of non-degree seeking student. Because as far as like a postmaster certificate program specific for that, we do not offer that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Our next question from Olivia is, what characteristics are specific to the clinical mental health program and distinguish it from the other programs with similar degree offerings? I know other schools offer specializations or other specific areas of research for their students.
Sure, yeah. So I think that's a great question. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is that in terms of a counseling program, an accredited counseling program, all accredited counseling programs will have a core of classes that are required. So if you're applying to clinical mental health counseling programs, the majority of them will have, probably 80 to 90% of their courses very similar, if not almost identical to what we offer. I will say what kind of sets us apart is our focus on social justice and how we really try to weave that throughout the curriculum and try to continue to encourage discussions around social justice and diversity and anti-racism. Another thing that really, a couple of things that stand out to me is that we do offer a diversity of elective courses. So I know currently we have courses related to counseling adolescents. We have an advanced treatment approaches course. We have, I believe, a crisis course. So we do have a lot of, I think a really strong range of electives that are offered, more so than I ever had offered in my programs. But also we do, one of the core courses that clinical mental health counseling students will take is a CBT course. And that is not something that I've seen offered at many programs. So those are just a couple of things that stand out to me.
Okay, next question. This is from Saloni. Is a Canadian WES evaluation acceptable for international students, or only the US evaluation is valid? Only a NACES or AACR-AO approved evaluation is accepted. You can take a look at our website, the School of Education's website, under international admissions for additional information.
Our next question we have is, has the curriculum changed to half session or is it still full semesters?
We are full semester. Fall semester is typically August or September to December. Spring semester is the end of January to May.
All right, and next question, are there any specific modalities or interest areas for clinical mental health counseling that Johns Hopkins specialize in? For example, internal family systems, holistic approaches, DBT?
Sure, yeah, great question. So like I said, we do have that CBT course, which which is definitely more specialized than most counseling programs will offer. Regarding really specific, those approaches, IFS and DBT and some of the other ones mentioned are very specific and wouldn't generally be covered, in a like a standalone course. However, I do know that in our family counseling, couple and family course, we do talk a bit about IFS, and in the advanced treatment approaches course that I teach, we do go over DBT. And kind of just to speak a little bit more to that too, with those specializations, most of that training you'll get post graduation. So typically what this program will really set you up to do is to be more of a generalist in terms of your practice, and then you can choose what direction to take that post graduation. So if you really want to get trained in IFS or DBT or really any approach, you have the opportunity to do that through continuing education after you graduate. But typically most programs won't offer a really specific specialization in those areas in the first place.
Okay, great. And we are running out of time. We have time for maybe about 2 to 3 more questions. The next question is, where can I find the tuition per credit for international students? And just quickly, the tuition for the 2020-2021 academic school year is $882 per credit for online classes and $833 per credit for face-to-face classes.
All right, the next question is, what is the average class size? The average class size is about 18 to 20 students, up to 22 students.
I'm going to interrupt right there and add to that as well. It also depends on the course. Our field experience courses, so our supervision courses for practicum and internship are actually a lot smaller. It's usually maybe 5 to 7 students.
The next question, can the clinical mental health program be done in 2 years?
Yes. So if you, no, it cannot be done in 2 years. So yeah, because we are now on a fall spring schedule, it will take 3 years to complete the clinical mental health program if you're full-time, and then 4 years at minimum if you're part-time.
And I guess this will be the last question. Is it preferred to submit a resume or a CV?
I'll jump in really quickly, Dr. Gonzalez. I don't think it necessarily matters as long as you have your, all of your experiences on it. I know that CV and resume are interchangeable at times. So I would say if you are submitting a CV, just make sure you include your practical and, professional experiences, as well as any research experiences you might have. And Dr. Gonzalez, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Nope, I would have said exactly the same you did, Dr. Newhart.
All right, unfortunately, we are out of time. Please reach out to the Office of Admissions if your question was not answered. In addition, we do offer virtual office hour every Tuesday. So please visit the school's website for the Zoom link or contact admissions for details of the virtual office hour. Thank you for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you so much.